Good morning, everyone. I hope you all well. Happy Sunday. So, why don't we take a few moments to sort of catch our breath, slow down our momentum, and sort of touch in to the stillness within us. So, sort of deep breaths helps to close your mind, eyes, and open your mind. And just let all thoughts just sort of settle. There's nothing forced here. We're just sort of, in a way, unplugging the power cord of our minds. So the energy drains out of our thoughts. The energy, the momentum, the movement in our minds, which we see as thoughts, sort of any anxiety we feel for being still, that sort of forward momentum, and you're sort of kind of shaking a little bit because you've kind of stopped, because we're habitually drawn to movement. We pull that plug and allow everything to just rest as it is. There's no past. There's no future. There's just the present. And by keeping one's eyes closed, one trains in this. And it helps to anchor ourselves. So we can anchor in our prayer, in a recitation of a name. So we focus on reciting a name, right? So that could be an anchor like Yahweh, 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 or Hashem, 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 or Adonai, 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 Elohim, 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 Emmanuel, 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 Emmanuel. And when you do that, all your attention, soft touch, it's not an intense attention, focuses on just reciting the name. So you're present in the recitation, in the saying of the name. And that's the focus. It helps to anchor the mind with something you're doing. As you get more advanced, the mind can anchor on itself. It's a little more along. But when one starts, and even at an intermediate level, it helps to have a focus. And when a mind anchors on itself, so people aren't confused, it's not anchored in our thoughts and our movement, which where we're anchored at normally. It's anchored in the emptiness and stillness that's the inherent quality of our minds. So it's not the normal mind. But to have that taste of that stillness that we're born with within, which is what you anchor on, which I guess is really not of the mind, but at our very, very core. It's like the very base of the mind, which would be our souls, because at that point it just all links to our innate energy of life, and it is peaceful and tranquil, inherently compassionate. It's luminous. You know those epoxy paints when they mix the paints, sort of the thick oil that they put on wood to create tables? You know that sort of whitish, luminescent one they sometimes mixed in? It's very shimmery. That's how I see that interior luminescent, very shimmery, very alive, very pregnant. But so we could also, especially, so that's sort of that. But at our recitation, we anchor in the name, and that's where we have our minds. Our minds need to be focused on something. It doesn't like resting in space. Inherently, it resists that. And we're trying to cut through that resistance, but we're cutting through in a very passive way. So we're really looking to not so much cut through, but to settle down and through that resistance. It's like lying down on a very comfortable mattress that likes to sink in a little bit. So we rest. We get comfortable and somehow we fall asleep. But imagine you're resting and you sort of drift through the mattress. So our thoughts, our movement, is everything outside the mattress that we're doing, and we're learning to rest and sink through these thoughts. Sink through the energy of momentum as we rest on a very comfortable, like one of those high-tech foam mattresses that rest to the contour of your body. So you get on it, it's not quite softened a little bit, and then within a minute or two, as you warm it up, it forms to your body. You sort of sink in. And that's what we're doing. We're sinking into our inherent nature of calmness, sort of our inherent Yahweh state. So by saying a name, we're sort of training in that for the mind to find that stillness. By just focusing on one task, saying the name mindfully. Yes? But today, we're going to work on stillness with no recitation. So where do we anchor our minds? So one anchor, as we mentioned a little while back, a week or two ago, we could anchor in our senses. We close our eyes and we open up our senses gently open up to our world that surrounds us. I find I mainly open because the eyes are closed, so there's no sensory input to the eyes, which is like 60% of the input that someone has, if they can see. And the next major input is from our ears, our hearing. So if someone is deaf, then you would work with the eyes, or work with the feeling you have of your skin, with the temperatures in the room. That's another possible anchor. But with the ears, you rest and breathe and you calm down. You find a posture that's so comfortable that you don't have to maintain with any force. And you open to any sounds. Even stillness and quiet has a sound. And we learn to rest there. So we're going to do this a little bit together. So I have my window open. The air is so beautifully fresh in the morning before the heat hits. And so I could hear the birds, the crows. I don't know if you could hear it. And we learn to just listen without any sounds disturbing us. We're not naming that it's of a particular bird. We're simply hearing the gawking, the sound of that bird, or the chirp, or a breeze, somebody walking by, of a parent or a child or your partner making sounds in another room, or your cat purring next to you, or the feel of your cat's fur against you. You remain open and receptive to whatever it is, so it doesn't actually end up disturbing you, because everything that is here, heard, is welcomed, because you open to it. You're opening to your sensory senses, and you release any thoughts that come, and then your mind settles. A lot of our practice in the summer, that's possible in warmer environments, but in the snow, very possible as well, is about settling in to what we see and what we hear in different environments that are conducive to healing. To seeing the beauty, which is healing, of God's Eden. Eden just doesn't exist in the book of Genesis. The Eden is actually our planet in a less purified form than what it used to exist. But there's still so much beauty here. It's pure, and it reflects the beauty within us. So when we listen to these sounds of these animals, of a cool breeze, those are pure sounds. And as we welcome those sounds into us, it fundamentally calms and heals us, lowers the trauma, lowers our busyness, which adds stress, and the sense of, continuous stimulation, which isn't healthy. Lead to hypertension and, all sorts of things. Inability to rest and calm ourselves, and outburst of anger or reaction, right? So we're learning very much to learn to be and learn our consciousness to sink slowly through our minds and be receptive. So, just breathe and relax. Eyes just just eyelids closed. It's not force, it's a light close, just very relaxed. And we're gonna just open. At the beginning, just inside of you, use the name that you're using and just say, like for me, I said, Yahweh, please bless my practice. And that brings in God into it, but then our practice doesn't relate to him or his name after that. It relates to just hearing, but we ask God to help us in being able to do it. So we're going to do this together. Just rest, open, listen. You could breathe in the freshness of the air and just learn to be a little bit. So how about for 5 minutes, okay? place within us. Now we can say God's name softly to bring in that blessing. It's just said softly and slowly. And it can be sort of a prayer as well. Lord, help me. Well, use the name you're using. Yahweh, help bring in the blessings. Give me clarity and calm and wisdom. Better be able to connect with you at all times throughout the day, so I may live in alignment with you. Amen. Deep breath. So see how you feel. How's your mind? Mine is calmer. I'm more grounded in my sense of sight. So I've opened my eyes. There's less speed. So, in a way, I have a little water here. In our busy world, there's a lot of stimulation and movement. But during the summer, as we go out and about and do things, I feel there's greater access in the outside world to be able to connect with that stillness and calm, so we can ease into deeper cores of ourselves and learn to be able to live from that place, the calm within, even if everything on the outside is anything but calm. We learn to live in the stillness amidst the movement and the chaos and the busyness of our everyday lives. So in a way, we're kind of training. So we can play tennis with a friend and get into what you're doing. You focus on playing tennis. You place your mind, your thoughts, your thinking on playing tennis in the moment, not thinking about the next point or the next game, how far ahead or behind you are, but you're focusing on hitting the ball. You're focusing on serving. You're focusing on the next hit. So you're very present in the moment, and it takes practice. And you find a quiet court that's not loud with other people around you, where there's no music. So what you're hearing is the hit of the ball, the sound of your breathing, the sound of the shoes. And you learn to still the mind. To what's occurring. So we can also do it when we're hiking or camping, taking a walk in a park, or taking a walk in the early morning wherever you are and there's not a lot of traffic, where there's not a lot of people, where the birds are out and they're most active. And you walk with awareness and you sit with awareness as you're doing it. You take a moment to still yourself. So you just don't hop out of your house in full speed. You leave, then you maybe sit down for a moment or stop moving. Take a breath or two. Align yourself to what's in front of you and sort of focus as to what's in front of you. It's best to practice in a quiet place away from traffic as you develop the skill, because you have to maintain awareness of your situation and not just sip into a meditative state and you step on a crosswalk and there comes a car. And I think that's where the summer is very helpful, because you can go to a park with no bikes and things like that, just a place where you can walk and do what's called a walking meditation, where you sort of rest for a moment and maybe meditate on a bench, or if you're able to do it cross-legged, you sit on a rock or sit on the ground, right? So if you're able to do the semi-lotus or the lotus posture, this semi-vajra or vajra posture, names for this, different names for the same thing. It's easy to sit on the ground. And if you do the semi-lotus, you interchange which leg is up, so you don't get any discomfort. And just sit there and watch the scene in front of you and just appreciate that beauty. It's so simple, we don't see it. And it's so calm. That little stream in front of you, that's always flowing. That's always making that noise, but we're normally not there to see it. And even where we are, we really don't see it. And that's an anchor which allow our thoughts to just relax and calm us. We find it very calming and very healing, because the speed and the charge isn't normal for our bodies. It's one reason we age so fast. It's the reason why we have blood pressure, heart attacks, even cancers. It puts our body under stress and then imbalances occur, an inability to fight off certain kinds of cells. So by relaxing, we're working on our interior wholeness. The light of God lives within us. So as we connect to the beauty of the world, we develop a heart of appreciation. An appreciative heart is a whole heart. It's a heart of life. It's an aspect of divinity. Because the beauty in our appreciation of it, of the stillness, of the scene that's in front of us, even if it's just a simple lawn, you really see the magic of it, the wonder of blades of grass, the miracle of its creation, that it even exists. The dew on the grass, how it shimmers, how fresh it is. And we develop eyes of wonder, more like the eyes of a child, very in wonder of the world around us. A purer form, going back to a form of more innocence, more receptivity, more aware. And as we touch in more and more frequently in these spaces, we really heal. When we use our minds, we use it better. When we use our minds, we remember better. And as we connect with Yahweh within, as we pray, we connect with that inner goodness within us. Our manifestations are in greater alignment. And that means we live in greater peace. In alignment, there's no resistance. There's no blocks in us. So much of everything I teach is about entering into our alignment, our factory settings. And working with nature, working with activity that's a little removed from our everyday lives, such as tennis or swimming or cardio, in a still place, it helps us sort of heal, allow the battery of our charge to rest, and it sort of drains out. So if we go to a quiet place and we take those moments to just rest and sit, then we can do what's called a walking meditation. But I highly suggest you do it in a place to train in it where there's no dangers. Because people can get caught in it at the beginning and lose awareness, a certain situational awareness, and not be mindful of, you're so caught on the road and how beautiful the road is, and you want to cross to the other side because you see a gorgeous tree and you're drawn to it, and you walk, but you forget this car is on the road because you're so caught in the beauty of your senses, of the road and the tree, and you're just so open to life and nature. And there goes an electric car which you can't hear coming. And so this is why one picks a place that one could just completely let go in safety, and a place that one won't do twists and turns and follow something and not know your way back. Right? You have to be smart about this. So when you find that place, when you go to that place, you rest, you put your awareness out. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? You try to relax with breathing and prayer a little bit, tension in your body, and you sit up slowly, and you breathe, and you relax, and just see, just hear, just feel, without labeling it. So the air isn't fresh, it's just the air with freshness, but you're not labeling it as fresh. You're just feeling what it is. It is what it is. It doesn't need any characterization. What you see is what you see. It's not green, it's not a grass, it's not a tree, it's not a stream, it's not a bird. You're just looking. You're not even looking because that's sort of a thought and an act. You're just open to what your eyes receive. Because looking is sort of active, outwards. Eyes are actually receptive, out to in. There's no act of looking. You open your eyes, you're receptive. Do you see? And same with the ears. The chirping of wind, the trickle of a stream. You just listen. You view what's going on. You listen. You feel. You can feel the sensation of your foot against your shoe and the hardness of the ground or the softness of dirt that's just been a little wet from the dew or rain and how it sinks in. But there's no foot, there's no shoe, there's no dirt. It's all labeling. It's just the feeling of what that is, and what's causing it really doesn't matter. It's the felt sense. And then you just let go of all these felt senses, whether it's feeling, whether it's seeing, whether it's hearing, and it just dissolves into what is. You just are. You're living in your beingness. You are being. B-E-I-N-G. You just are. A-R-E. Awake, conscious, open, receptive, present. And it takes practice. But you can actually be that way in the middle of a meeting, in the middle of a tense situation, in the middle of traffic on the 405 freeway, or the 5 freeway, or wherever you are. The A train in New York, that's a wild one. Old cars, very loud, a lot of movement, very noisy. And none of that bothers you because you're present in all that movement. You're not really labeling anything. But that takes more practice. So we start at home with our morning practice or evening practice in our shrine, and we learn to still the mind. And then we work in a quiet place to work on stilling the mind and walking and doing it with awareness. Our awareness has no thoughts, but yet it's highly, highly conscious and awake. And as we work with it, we walk and we're actually more present to everything around us. And our senses become more sensitive. We can even know things will happen before they happen, and there's no reason to know what's going to happen. We just know. There are deeper levels within us that have, in a way, characteristics that we rely on in our minds, but we realize they're really not necessary because we have all these qualities we associated with thinking within us, and it's much, much stronger than anything our minds can do. Our consciousness is highly capable. It's photographic, remembers everything. And we don't need to retain it because it automatically knows what it needs to know for any situation. But it takes time to uncover that. It takes time to bubble up that wisdom that knows those 3 words or 2 short sentences that just diffuses a situation that would just erupt and cause a big mess. How do we know that? Well, that's our birthright. To live in tranquility and calm amidst chaos. To have the wisdom what to do. So what we're doing is empowering ourselves. But ourselves is not based on ego. What I want, what this, what that, what this. These are things of the mind. We're connected to deeper parts within ourselves. Our consciousness, our souls, the innate spark within us that transcends our lives and our bodies. And we live in this state of consciousness. Which is our true selves. So we're not erasing ourselves. There is very much a you in there. But it's not the you that you think there is. You see, this is a very different. This is where this diverges a little bit from certain teachings of the East. There's very much a you. There's no erasing of yourselves. There's no dissolving into emptiness and other states of teachings that I'm never going to go into. There's a you. There's a soul. There's an inherent, very perfect form of you that we're learning to touch in. Sort of the you that came out of your mother, before everything else sort of happened. The schooling, the education, the formation of your personality through your parents, what they did, what they did to you, didn't do to you, their kindness, their anger, their generosity, their not generosity, the friends, where you live, the bounties, the hardship, all this forms us. But at the base of all that, there is a very, 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 very beautiful, loving, kind, wise, compassionate you. And we learn to touch in to that aspect of ourselves, and we could learn to live there. And so we go to these places during the summer, the mountains, the beaches, the local park, even walking through Central Park. God, I love New York City. We can walk through the beautiful cities of Europe, or Australia, or Peru, anywhere we are, where it's quieter and safe, and learn to just look out through the eyes of wonder and just see and feel and look. And it's like being on that beautiful foam mattress that fits the contours of your body, not too soft, not too hard. You feel held, and you just go beneath what's normally one's way of being and touch into something deeper. And that at its core is the beauty of what a practice can do during the summer, fall, and spring. But let me tell you, during the winter, and God knows I've been through some really horrible ones, you could layer yourself, put on in the coat, especially after a snowfall, and walk and hear and see the beauty of the snow. The snow machines passing by, and going to a park after a snow, and just how quiet it is. Or even in a cold day, it's so much quieter. And that's part of your practice. It's just so important to bring in the nature into our lives. There's so much for it to teach us. There's so much that it has to offer to us. It's engaging with it mindfully. You know, I went scuba diving once in Bali. I was blown away by how beautiful it was, just was not ready. It's one of those PBS specials on TV. And I dove on a wreck, 30 feet down, 20 feet down, wasn't that deep, full of fish. I saw fish that I never thought I would see. I saw a moray eel, I saw scorpion fish and things. I wasn't afraid at all. I was just struck by the stillness and the beauty and the wonder. There was a school of fish, might have been 1.5 feet long, 300 of them. They were swimming in a circle from the bottom all the way up to the top. I went close to them, and they went all around me. And I was at the center of this funnel, and I looked up, and the wonder of nature, the beauty of the colors. I'm like, wow, this should be our lives. And these moments break through to accessing the wonder that lives within, the stillness that lives within, the beauty that lives within us. It's all medicine, it's all a balm BALM, for our souls. The summer, our bodies aren't under stress with cold or changing temperatures, as long as it's not too hot out there. So we can just easier let go without like, oh, now I'm cold. But even during the winter, after a while we warm up in our clothes and we go for a walk and we learn to sort of unplug. And as we go deep and deeper and we're present, towards the end, we're in a state of real connection. And just like with our practice this morning, it's a very, very powerful place to pray and ask God, please bless me, please heal me, please connect me, please help me to live in a pure way. In a way, we fasted a little bit. We've gone deeper. And then we sort of take that divine pill, that medicine. And because we fasted and we've quieted our minds, it's taken in a very deep way. This is why we go to temples and churches to pray, because the songs, the prayers, the stillness, the sense of energy there puts us in a very fertile place to pray. And it's very effective. It changes us. Our thinking, our emotions, reactivity, how we present ourselves in the world, how we handle what the world brings at us. Yes? Does that make sense? So you could apply it to everything. It could be knitting, playing an instrument, painting. Learn to just focus at what you're doing. You don't judge it. You allow it to flow out as what it is. So your painting might suddenly become more abstract. You don't allow it to irritate you. Your playing might no longer follow the sheet music. You might make a mistake, but hey, that's okay. You get into the groove, and whoa, you really might be surprised what comes out. Someone who's always followed the sheet music suddenly is playing beautiful songs because you know the rhythm of a piano and it's your own. The painting suddenly becomes a style that's your own. And you learn to live in wonder. In that state of wonder, that state of being, the state of living in one's awareness that comes from the soul consciousness, from our innate self, my friends, that's Eden. We can tap into the deeper places of ourselves that are Eden-like. It's our birthright. And our hearts live there. Our souls live there. Hashem lives there. Yahweh lives there. Manuel lives there. Adonai lives there. Elohim lives there. They're all God. They're not separate gods, just different energies of the divine. It's all one divinity, God. And we could live in a pure state while here. And in being in that alignment, when it's time for us to go from alignment into alignment, being with God into being with God. So there's really no change going on. We're already at that frequency, and ultimately we've already sort of won. There's no fear there. There's no real change going on. Our outward world becomes one of perfection, of our return to Eden. And while we're here, we're living in a better way. We have strength and resources that are grounded, that are reliable. We have ways of being that are not subject to the fickleness of this world, not subject whether somebody is having a good day or a bad day, whether they ruin a connection or strengthen a connection. That's good or bad, but it doesn't affect our groundedness or our sense of being or our state of mind, or throws us off with pain as much as it could if we are grounded at our core with Hashem, with Adonai, or any of the names you use, because that is our core. Our relationship with God is the primary one. It's the main one. First, it's our relationship with God. That is our anchor. That is our base. We come from God. We're born because of God. It's what we first knew. When we were in our mother's womb, we did not know what that space was. We felt warmth. We felt a red light through the belly. So there was a beautiful sort of pinkish, reddish light, and we're in the fluid. It's warm, we're held, and really we're living in the divine. It's perfect. Believe me, I remember it clearly. That's our core, that primary connection with God. So we start with it. Therefore, it is our core. But in our world, we, through need, because we become disconnected with that, because we're young and we don't remember it. We're born. Suddenly we're dependent on a mother. We're dependent on her milk. We're depending on our families to provide shelter, food, guidance, everything. We start becoming very reliant on things that are outside of ourselves. And inherently, they're not that reliable. Our parents disappoint us. Our parents could lie to us. Heaven forbid, right? Our parents aren't all necessarily all that perfect. And we get disappointed, we get hurt. Our parents eventually, unless we go first, they die on us. So their presence is not assured. Our kids may be close, they may be estranged, they may no longer talk to us, or they're always in our lives. But there could be arguments and strife. And same with our friends. They come and they go. They're great. They're not so great. They're loving and wonderful. They hurt us, stab us. Their personalities change. They decide to have a bad day and they really, slash out. We may have food, we may not have food, we may have shelter, we may not have shelter. So in the midst of life, which is very much the definition of change, what is reliable? This is a very good contemplation one can have later. See if you agree with me. Always contemplate what I say and see if you agree with me. Because if you do or you don't, you learn and you grow. Just please suggest, leave an open mind to what I say, because it's highly grounded in what I've learned and what have experienced. Maybe you'll be like, oh my God, aha moments, which, I've had with my teachers. They've said things, I'm like, that's so nice. So up in the sky, woo, to live that way, it's so nice. And then you leave your thought open, and a couple years or a couple months or a couple days later, you're like, oh my God, that is something that I could live from. Oh my God, that is possible. Whoa. Wow, thank God I met that one. That's so helpful. Oh my God, that changes my life. And you leave that openness to the possibility, but you don't swallow it hook and line and whatever. No. Because that's not working with yourself and where you are. You see it, you try it, you have confidence to do the practices. You hope one can see that, and you leave yourself open to it. So where is our reliance? Where's our bedrock? This is very different from the non-deistic religions. We believe in God. That is our rock. Notice I'm using absolute terms. It is our rock. It is our core. It is where we come from. That is our creator. This is what created us. This is what gave us consciousness. This is what created the universe. What created the birds, our planet, our Eden. What gives us life after the death of our mind and our body. Impermanent, not reliable. It could be healthy and cannot be healthy. This life and this death of our body. So where in all of this is fundamentally reliable to always be there? And as we learn to live from that core, from our consciousness, with our relationship with God, who is always there, always wishes the best for us, always guides us, we are less vulnerable to have the changes and the fickleness and the upheaval of our lives to really unbalance and unmoor us and really throws us off. Because we're living from a place which understands that that's just what happens. Doesn't mean it doesn't hurt us. But how deeply does it traumatize and throw us off and changes us in a way that's not the best. And as we relate to these deeper parts of ourselves, we heal what's happened in the past. We learn to let it go. And as we let it go and heal, we actually reclaim a lot of our chi, a lot of our life source. We reclaim soul loss, bits of ourselves that have just died off. Actually hasn't died off, it's just gone to heaven and is not as available anymore as a way to cope with pain and trauma, which actually is kind of a blessing because you don't have that pain as much to hold you down, but we're able to reclaim it when it's a safer time to get back that depth of access. And we engage with that life force, with that healing, which makes us stronger and helps cure illnesses in our bodies and all that good stuff. To have a healthier life, a healthier relationship with people around us. But that solid foundation is very reliable. It gives you a resilience. It gives you strength against obstacles and adversity. We strengthen one's true self. So we ultimately base ourselves on what is ultimately true, with a capital T. In a sense, what's real. Capital R. That transcends birth and death and all the changes of a dualistic world. And that empowers us, helps us heal, and also to manifest with greater strength, wisdom, compassion, love, wholeness, and knowing when to keep it within yourself, and knowing when one should manifest it. But not based on when one would like to manifest it, but when it's appropriate to manifest it. Do you see? It's not all out there regardless of the consequences. There is a wisdom on how one goes about it, and that changes based on the circumstances. It's very smart. And by rooting with God, one bases one's life, lowercase l, one roots one's life in life with a capital L. And all these practices we're doing, from the first teaching that I gave to now, is all about doing this. And the rest are just ways to go about it, teachings as to what's going on and how to connect with it. And how to live in it, with it. So I hope this helps you all. And we use the summer going about it. So try to find these spaces of calm, of relaxation, to just be and live a little bit in wonder. Because that sense of open wonder of a child, that a child has, is really very much closer to our true selves. In so many teachings that I have heard from around the world, it says, it encourages to live through similar to the purity and innocence of a child, of wonder. But then you also learn to also have the wisdom of an adult as to what's around you and what's your life is like. But at your core, you've touched into something your umbilical cord is still attached to the divine. It's still attached to that beauty of innocence and of wholeness when you were a fetus in your mother. And that nourishes us as an adult. It keeps us whole and aligned and fed, which gives us strength as we manifest as a teenager, as an adult, in all aspects of our lives, because we remain connected to the divine. So thank you so much for joining me today. Actually, a teaching on stillness, one of the core teachings with a practice, is going to be posted this week. And I've started to post more on my Twitter page, on X, of certain teachings that I have given. And so please subscribe if you would like. It's at HP Shalom, HPSHALOM on X. And I post beautiful photographs and little things that could inspire. I'm feeling more inspired to post more there. So please have a look. I've posted a few things recently, and I hope, it all inspires everyone. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to being with you all next week. Bye-bye.